Thank you for staying with us. You're still watching The Breakfast on Plus TV Africa. It's time to look at the stories that have made it to the front pages of our national dailies. And joining us this morning is Professor Kamilu Sani Fage. He's from the Department of Political Science, Bayero University, Kano. Good morning, sir. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning, and thank you for having me.
And happy new month to you. Welcome to February.
Thank you very much. Same to you.
Yes, sir. All right, so this morning we'll begin with The Punch, and the Punch leads with Dangote price slash. Marketers with imported fuel fear losses. The writer here says, a dealer says stiff competition forces Dangote refinery price slash to 890 naira per litre. I'll take that again. Dealers say stiff competition forces Dangote refinery price slash to 890 naira per litre. So, first, they increased the petrol price. They brought it down. They increased it again with Dangote's competition. They brought it down, and for some weird reason, it was increased yet again. Now, for certain filling stations, they were selling for about 935 when it was reduced, but then they had to go up to 970. As of right now, we're seeing Dangote's price at 890 naira. Before it was 899 naira, but now we're seeing 890 naira. What do you think of this whole rigmarole? Because it seems like today there's a price slash. Tomorrow it has been increased. Next tomorrow we're bringing it down again. I know this is what competition is supposed to do, because if there are so many players on the field, you're looking for the best deal that you can get. But shouldn't there be somebody like the NNPCL who is supposed to ensure that the price should be a little bit stable so that Nigerians can plan, especially for a product that is now exorbitantly high? And it is reflected when it comes to the cost of transportation, when it comes to food inflation, in fact, everything. Why is nobody doing anything about the pricing system of petrol in Nigeria?
Yeah, it's because we have weird understanding of what the regulation is all about. The fact that you allow the market to dictate does not mean that there shouldn't be a regulatory agency that will ensure that things have not gone out of hand. Okay, at least stabilizing the environment so that things competition will be free, fair, and. But the fact that we think that because of the regulation, everybody can do what he or she wants, that is why we are having the problem where we are now. Ideally, you see, in my pre-market economy, like that of Dangote, Dangote could have had his own price much lower because most of the cost implication of it are cut. For example, he's buying it in Naira, not in dollars. So at least that one has subsidized this in. The cost of transportation also has been eliminated. The cost of tax, insurance, and other things. So ideally, the Dangote market, product should have been much, much lower than that, so that at least that will bring the competition, and that will now make some people to, buy his own. But now that the independent marketers threatened a week or so back that they are going to buy fuel from outside market because his own is more expensive. So that is why he is now taking this measure to break down the market by bringing down his cost. So I think there has to be fairness in this thing. And the regulatory agencies should have a look to it so that at least Nigerians are not subjected to the whims and caprices of the marketers.
Well, I don't understand it because, like you said, there should be a regulatory body. We cannot be doing this yo-yo. It's like a dance every single time when it comes to petrol. And if it's something that we know we need for transportation, we need it as an alternative source of power for certain people because we do not have constant or stable electricity, then I'm not saying don't increase the price at some point, but there should be some semblance of stability when it comes to the price. And I hope the NNPCL or NMDPRA or whoever the body should be to take this up, I hope that they take this up, or even the president, because He's the Minister of Petroleum Resources, I want to believe. Anywho, let's move over to another top trend, another story here that says electricity tariff hike looms as federal government plans to end subsidy. In fact, that is the headline on the Daily Trust. It says federal government plans fresh electricity tariff hike, consumers react. So last year, the electricity tariff was increased for Band A customers, whereby there was almost about 300% increase for that, and we know how people struggled. Those people were complaining. And another thing they said was they did not even see the 20 hours of power, of constant power that was promised to them. Now, if there's also going to be another electricity tariff, I don't know if it's going to affect this Band A customers, but even other people, how are we going to cope? When we've talked about fuel subsidy being gone, so petrol is quite expensive right now. We've talked about telecoms, operators, there's a tariff hike there of 50%. Now, electricity, again, even though they say that for vulnerable Nigerians or people that are impoverished, they'll be able to, do something for them. I don't know what data they're going to use for all of that, but what's your take on this? The fact that it seems every other month, there is just something that you should expect in Nigeria that is going to take all of the money that you have.
You see, the apostle of pre-market always happen these issues. They are telling us that, we are subsidizing, the government is subsidizing, and so on. Now, you see, the implication of this is that it will eventually break Nigerians. Either it will push them to the level of protests, or it will break them to the extent that they cannot be able to afford anything. And whichever way happens is going to be disastrous for the country and for the economy. If, for example, they decided to, protest, that is something else. But if they could not afford to at a certain level, they cannot afford to buy things, what will happen is that many industries will have to go down because you cannot be producing and people are not buying it. Look at the level of the standard of living. Now that the government is talking about, that minimum wage of 70,000, that one cannot do anything to any Nigerian. And besides, if you look at the number of workers relative to the total percentage, I don't think the whole workers in Nigeria constitute up to 10%. We are focusing attention on top 10%. We are ignoring the 90% who cannot be able to afford these things. Now, there is something about a tariff increase in telecommunication. Already the Naira has been plotted and subsidies have been removed. And now we are talking increasing electricity. And look at what is going to happen. Industries will definitely collapse because there is no source of energy. Even those few who will not migrate or close shop, they are going to produce at exorbitant price. And what will happen, the inflation that we are talking about now will be like a child's play. Because by the time you increase these things, there is no source of energy, there are no other things. What will happen is the producer will pass on the thing to the consumers. That will raise inflation. That is one thing. The other thing is when you are just using what to say the vulnerable people, they will find a way to subsidize this. That is not going to happen. Even if they have, they have to go to the same market to buy things. It is not that they are going to have a different market where they will buy things for the poor people and there's a market for the rich people. We all go to the same market, and the same market is where the producers, are paying too much on, sources of energy. So they are going to pass it on to everybody. So I think this is what the government ought to look at. People are calling for the government to review its own policies that put Nigeria and Nigerians into this hard situation. But on the contrary, instead of listening to them, we are getting, this apostle of the regulation telling us that this and so on and so forth. So I think it is a dangerous trend that we are working by such increase unnecessarily from here to here. And look at it. Even this story of the possible increase of electricity tariff was not generated here. Somebody was there in Tanzania. That is why he issued the thing. I think this is taking Nigerians too far for granted, and I think it is better for government to listen to Nigerians than to those people who are telling us that we are losing by subsidizing for Nigerians.
Mm-hmm. So I just don't know how, people are supposed to live on 70,000 naira every month as a minimum wage. And in fact, I was just trying to do the calculation. So as of 2020, before the dollar was increased to about 400, it was about 3-something, 400. As of that time, 70,000 was, let's say, 175, dollars, right? If you do the math. As of today, 70,000 is not even up to $50. It's just about maybe like $49. So how do we live on that every month? Yet you're increasing almost everything. So I know that with countries that have been pushed up against the wall, there's always going to be a revolution. Either you're seeing protest or some level of criminality. And if we're saying that we want to maintain peace and order in Nigeria, I'm wondering why the reforms are not reflecting what would bring that peace and order in Nigeria. And so many people are faulting, all of this, tariff hikes. For instance, on The Guardian this morning, it says, experts CDWR fault tariff hike. So we're talking about the telecom tariff hike. Still on The Guardian, it says telcos prepare 50% tariff hike set for rollout in March. So just next month, in a month's time, we have to be paying 50%. Telecoms hike, it's just a whole lot. And I don't know how Nigerians are to cope at this time. But another thing that is giving people anxiety here, it says anxiety over oil output exploration as 55 licenses expired this year. First, we've always said it, we do not know how much oil we produce in Nigeria every day. But knowing that there might be a problem here, how do we mitigate this?
Yeah, you see, this is a typical Nigerian bureaucratic setup. These licenses were not issued yesterday. They had been issued long ago. Yeah. The government and the issuers should have known that this is what what is going to happen. And if care is not taken, these 55 licenses will expire, and somebody will be sitting on the table trying to push in things until, it becomes a crisis. The whole reason behind these things is corruption. People are going to make money out of it, so that is why they are sitting on that. They don't see the implication for the country. By the time these 55 licenses expired, which means they cannot explore oil, which means there will be a drastic cut down in, the oil output.
Well, excuse me, sir. So on The Guardian, it even says that Nigeria's 2025 oil output target is 2.06 million barrels per day. So I don't know. I think it used to be like 4 million barrels per day. We've seen it reduce. We even got to just over 1 million. But now, where do we stand with our OPEC quota if we're now looking at 2.06 million barrels per day?
Yeah, you see, we are going to be below the quota. What I'm saying is even this projection of 2-something million per day is not likely going to happen if these 55 licenses expired. Because even if they are producing, let's say, 1,000 liter per decent or exploring that one. Now, by the time you have that 55 times 1,000, it is going to be a huge chunk of the whole system. So I think this is where, for our own personal interest, we just hold the nation at ransom. Like I said, the people who are supposed to check this thing, who are supposed to issue it, they could have taken proactive measures long ago so that this thing will not have happened. But despite these hues and cries, the thing is likely going to happen that after the expiration, it will take long before they are renewed, and that will cause something. And part of the reason that we are where we are is because heads don't roll. People who are supposed to be responsible for this, nobody will hold them accountable for that. So that is why we are where we are. So I think, we have to be serious on issues. Once we have responsibilities, we should take it, as a national responsibility and take it. But otherwise, this is going to be disastrous and costly for the country.
All right, let's move over to the Nigerian Tribune, and it says 2027, Northern leaders, coalition proponents write off PDP. The writers here says ex-military leaders, other stakeholders endorse coalition. Proponents may announce new platform late February. Leaders yet to agree on presidential standard bearer. LND playing lead roles, that's according to a source, and Tinubu not worried by gathering of opposition, and that's according to the president. In fact, the Zamfara state government has said that he believes that PDP will come out stronger, obviously, come 2025. But I want to get your take on all of this, on our political scene in Nigeria.
Yeah, you see, one, it is too early to start talking about 2027 because the implication of that is going to divert government's attention on these issues, okay? And it will hit up the polity in such a way that, by the time the election comes, when you overhit it, it is going to end up in crisis, okay? That is not what is going to happen. But what should have been done is constructive criticism. Yes, opposition should be highlighting issues so that they put the government on its own, so that they provide alternatives to Nigerians. But all these things that is happening indicates one thing, that whether the government or the opposition, they are all birds of the same piece, they are politicians. Their main concern is not Nigeria, is not Nigerians, is their own personal interest. So that is why they are harping on these issues. The government will keep on denying that all these oppositions are attempt to, sabotage the system, and the opposition is also bringing others in. Instead of looking at issues, Nigerians are literally crying. We are bleeding due to inflation and others. These are the issues that the government and the opposition should try to provide alternative solutions to Nigerians, not to be talking of their own position. So this is an indication, like I said, that Nigerian politics and Nigerian democracy is not about Nigerians, it's about the politicians. They are more worried, more concerned about themselves. That is why they are raising all these issues about 2027, even before we reach halfway to the mandate of the government.
All right, let's look at the business NG. Now, the business NG leads with 2024, how CBN policies fueled 71.5 trillion naira transactions on OPay, PalmPay, and others. So, of course, the CBN, they halted onboarding for most of this fintech in 2024, April 2024. But what really pushed Nigerians was the fact that there was limited cash available for Nigerians, and these fintech solutions came to the rescue. So is it that sometimes maybe the policies that we expect to not work for us kind of work in the favor of others at some point, because these are people that have made 71.5 trillion naira. What's your take?
Yeah, you see, this is the whole thing. We are passing on the thing. The people are suffering, and the rich ones are going to the bank, laughing. By the time you push all these things, some people will be making money out of it at the expense of Nigerians. Okay, by the time the government reduces cash flow, people are forced into these agencies. And they are making, you buy naira. Okay, at every exchange or output that you make, people are being, are paying twice. If you are getting money, you pay the operator a certain amount, certain percentage of what you take, and at the same time, when you are debited, you are also, you pay something. So I think these are some of the policies that, like I said earlier on, we have a wrong conception of what pre-market is all about. It is not about exploiting the people. Okay, it's about, okay, of course, allowing the market to dictate, but it doesn't mean you exploit. These are some of the things that happen. Yes, that is why these people are making huge money out of Nigerian suffering. It is only here in Nigeria that you see even the unemployed is taxed. Because these are all indirectly taxing Nigerians, and these are all ways by which we buy naira instead of getting these things. So literally, Nigerians are made to buy naira from the rich people. That is why these all operators like Opay and others are making money. And now they are also going to introduce, or they have literally also introduced another form of taxation that by the time you withdraw a certain amount or you deposit a certain amount, they will cut tax. So whatever it is Nigerian or ordinary Nigerians that are at the receiving end of these policies.
Yeah. When you said buy the naira, I was just chuckling because you're using naira to buy naira. It's just quite ridiculous. But of course, when certain policies come, people have to find alternative solutions. And with this, if it's something that floods the market whereby people can get their monies quickly, that's what they're going to do, regardless of whether they have to pay or not. Anywho, let's move over to another story here. It was one of our top trending stories this morning, and it says, mixed reactions trail police crackdown on third-party insurance enforcement. The writer here says, lawyers condemn police involvement or condemn involvement of the police. Defaulters may pay 250,000 naira fine. So some people have, applauded this new policy that, yes, it's a good thing when we're talking about road safety is a step towards the right direction. But others are saying that, this could just promote extortion, because when the police gets involved, most times if they stop you and your car documents are not available or complete, they just find ways to extort money from you. So how do you think this is going to work? Because the truth is, third-party insurance, in fact, insurance as a whole is important for everyone, and not just car insurance, home insurance, health insurance, life insurance. Insurance is important because it's a contingency plan for you. But how do we ensure that people do not get extorted with the police involvement in ensuring that this third-party insurance is being enforced?
You see, insurance, it works. It is good where they pay. Now, even if you have full insurance in Nigeria, there's no guarantee that will be paid when the incident happens. Okay, so that is why people resort to third party, and the third party is just to fulfill your obligation. You take some money and give it to the rich people, knowing fully well that it doesn't work. It doesn't earn anything. But regardless whether you have third party or not, they are not going to be paid. But if you don't have it, then you are subject to arrest. So I think this is where the government ought to come in. Okay, the government has to stamp its feet that, look, yes, we are telling people to buy insurance. We are making it part as compulsory for people to have, if it is a traffic, you must have insurance. But then the companies should be compelled to pay where somebody has a chance to be paid. But where you just allow them to collect money over and over, and if they refuse to pay and nothing is done, so that is why we are going to have this thing. And by the time you say the police impose it, you are now also subjecting the people to extortion. Yeah. Our police will now take that one, and they will do all necessary things to make sure that they prostrate the people, and they will extort money from it. We have wars on our street, stories where people, unnecessarily suffer on this issue of, papers on the road. Sometimes they will say, okay, what do you have? A day or two after expiration of your papers, and you will be subjected to that. Or you go to one checkpoint, within less than half a kilometer, there's another one, to the extent that people are forced to be, bribing their way out, despite the fact that they have the papers. So I think this is not going to augur well for Nigerians. By the time you put these things, unless the government takes measure to ensure that it protects Nigerians. After all, this is the responsibility of the government.
Yeah.
People voted the leaders to protect them, not to exploit them. All today, what we have been doing is showing that in all policies, the whole thing is that Nigerians are being exploited through different policies, raising tariff here, insurance there, and other things. So I think what leaders have to look at is that they are representing Nigerians, so their primary responsibility is to protect the interests of Nigerians, not the rich people.
All right, finally, let's look at Nature News. So Nature News leads with cocoa fertilizer push Nigeria's non-oil exports to $5 billion in 2024. I know that for most Nigerians, what we know as our revenue source is oil. So when we think of crude oil, that's how we make money. But we're not really looking into other sources, which is agriculture, tourism, any other thing, education, any other thing that can bring money. But knowing that there is a potential here, whereby in 2024, we made about $5.4 billion. How do you think the government needs to start pushing this forward, not just relying on oil?
You see, the policy of diversification should have been taken seriously, because we have seen the danger and we have seen the cost of, monocrop economy. By putting emphasis on oil, you see the kind of problems that we have. It is high time that we give serious claim to this issue of diversifying our own economy. Agriculture alone, will take us out of this problem. But like you said, there are other sectors which the government seems to ignore. Only that because it is easier, it's cheaper, to rely on oil. That is why we are neglecting all other sectors. And still, the irony of it is that we fail to learn a lesson from this over-dependence on oil alone. Yeah. We have the potential, we have things, so we only give verbal commitment to the issue of diversification. But what this thing shows that there is that potential. After all, before oil, we depend on agriculture. And now this alone shows that if we are serious, even from agriculture, will be out of the doldrum that we are in today.
All right, sir. So we have to wrap up now, I've been told by the producers, but I want to take this little story here that says Lagos residents demand dump site relocation over health pandemics. So now, if you live in Lagos, there is a particular site that I know of. I think that's around Ketu Ojota, and that area stinks. It's not even just smelling, it stinks. And sometimes you wonder that this is a city. Why do they create a dump site here? Why are they not going into maybe a rural place whereby people are not living there? Because, of course, there is the health hazard to all of this. What's your take on Lagos as a cosmopolitan city, and they're not really looking at the health of the people?
Yeah, you see, what most towns, mega towns do is that even where you have dump sites, there is recirculation. These are the things that you do, you generate kind of thing. But where you just go and dump it like that, it is hazardous to people, it is hazardous to the environment and all other things. So we need to take things seriously. It doesn't mean we have to go and push it to the rural people. The rural peoples also are Nigerians. We cannot do it. We should look at other sources. All over the world, people are recirculating. They are generating energy from dump. You can generate heat, you can generate energy to power things.
Electricity.
But here we are with electricity. We are we are doing the same thing that we have been doing for many years. We have to look at alternative ways of utilizing these dams for the benefit of Nigerians.
Thank you so much for that. I totally agree with you, because we need to start to recycle. And I think what we can also do is ensure that even in our own households, we're recycling. So it's not everything that you just put in the waste, and ensure that paper is for paper, bottle is for bottle, that's glass now, and then, you know, other waste. And when I even talked about rural areas, I mean lands that are not being used or are not really being inhabited by people. But I think the best alternative is having to recycle, which now gives you a cleaner environment, and that's what we want. Thank you so much, Prof. It's been a pleasure having you, reviewing the papers with you. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for having me.
Have a wonderful day, sir.
Same to you.
Yeah. All right, so we're speaking with Professor Kamilu Sani Fage. He's from the Department of Political Science, Bayero University, Kano. And we've just been looking at the stories that made it to the front pages of our national dailies this morning. We'll go on a short break now. When we return, we'll be discussing our first hot topic, so please stay with us.